Welcome to Biztech Asia's C-Suite Conversation Show. I'm Jeffrey Halley, and today we have Manoj Menon, the founder and MD of Twimbit. Twimbit is a research and advisory firm that specializes in providing invaluable industry intelligence to executives and teams, acting as a catalyst for both innovation and, most importantly, growth. To tell us more, welcome to the show, Manoj.
Hey, thank you very much, Jeff. And great to be here. Thanks for this opportunity to have a conversation.
Yeah, a pleasure. Right, so we'll get straight into it. Perhaps for starters, you could give us an overview of what Twimbit actually does in more detail, and then perhaps give us an overview of your entrepreneurial journey that brought you to Twimbit.
Yeah, thanks. We are a research and advisory firm, and our entire purpose is to help companies, drive innovation and improve experiences. That is our entire purpose and, rationale for being. So we want to help companies, integrate innovation better, and most importantly, improve experiences, because we are in an experience economy. It's very hard to differentiate between one product to another. There's almost zero difference in the feature. Every product is almost the same, right?
Yes.
The only difference is how you engage with the brand, how you engage with the company. How do they make you feel when you buy the product, when you use the product, when you talk about that product to other people? And that's where value is created. Value is not created in the making of the product anymore. Value is created in the experience of the product. So we are focusing our energy to help companies participate and win in this experience economy. And that's why we have set up Twimbit. Now, we do have another one big vision statement. We think that companies around the world are really built to serve only one person, the shareholder. So when anything goes wrong, and you see the spate of news, the world's biggest companies, the most profitable companies, they have tons of money in their bank. When things turn around a bit, what do? They lay off their people, right? So this is not the reason why companies were set up. Companies have to serve all stakeholders in equal measure. That means you got to serve employees, customers, partners, society, and shareholders in equal measure. That means a shareholder is as important as an employee, is as important as a customer, is as important as society. So we want to try and see if we can push the world towards building purpose-driven organizations. And that is one of the things we are very passionate about. And that is why, actually, Jeff, I started Twimbit to say, we've gone so far in this path of being so profit motivated that we have lost the essence of why businesses need to be built in the first place. And we want to see if we can be that role model corporation for the world to follow.
Fascinating. And what is your background? What brought you? What was your career before Twimbit? Before you founded Twimbit?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. As soon as I graduated from my business school, I joined initially as an intern with Frost & Sullivan. Frost & Sullivan is a global research and advisory firm. And they were just starting their operations in Asia. And I, along with a couple of my colleagues, we were the first interns for the company back in Mumbai. And then within about 8 to 10 months, they moved me to Singapore. And we were a few people here. And since then, I spent almost 22 years. We built the company across Asia. They were very nice to me. I ended up running the region. We opened up offices in almost 14 different countries and covered everything from healthcare to energy to automotive and telecoms. It was a fun ride. And somewhere around 2018, I felt, I think time has come for me to do something on my own. And so I left Frost & Sullivan, not knowing exactly what to do. I experimented with, I started Twimbit, but I experimented with lots of different things. And you know how as an entrepreneur, you're looking thousands of ideas, and then you get lost in the idea. Eventually, good sense prevailed about 18 months later. And I said, hey, what am I really good at? I'm good at this trade that I've practiced over the last 2 decades. Let me first make my mark there before I do anything else. So I ended up, building Twimbit to focus on research And we want to, when you think about research, usually you think about going to sleep because it's boring. It's not fun to read. It's not shared in a very simple, easy to consume manner. So one of the things that I and my team are working at is, can we bring joy in the consumption of research? Can it be fun? It should be as fun as scrolling Instagram for hours. So we're working on that.
Wonderful. Spoken like a true entrepreneur. I can tell you that right now. Look, before we start looking at the telco sector, I just wanted to touch on one thing that you mentioned in your introduction, the stakeholder capitalism, if you like, where companies need to be thinking not just about profit, but their communities and their staff, as well as their customers, etc. Some would label it ESG, but I think stakeholder is perhaps more accurate here. That's quite a different sort of business model, I suspect, from the way that many Asian firms run their businesses. Have you found some resistance to bringing these concepts to your clients or potential clients around Asia?
Not necessary. I believe many Asian companies are actually very stakeholder centric as compared to their Western counterparts, right? You take Japanese companies. They are the oldest surviving companies in the world. Some companies like, Sumitomo and all, they are 600-700 years old. Why? So I went and looked up this founding document of Sumitomo Corporation. Why did this company survive 700 years? So I read their founding document precepts written by the founder, saying, our purpose and existence is to serve society. Right? And you can see, you hear of many Japanese companies, they go through tough times occasionally, they don't make profits. You don't hear about layoffs that often, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think Japanese companies are a great role model example. And there are many Asian companies, even many in this part of the world as well. I think telecom industry, it doesn't get its fair share of credit. It's an industry, while it is not a fabulous growth sector, the telecom industry serves its stakeholders really well. Think about it. Your cost of petrol has gone up, gasoline has gone up. Everything that you consume, Jeff, over the last 3-4 years, everything has gone up. Has the cost of telecom gone up? It has only gone down. So because the government regulates it, manages it, drives competition, it's also another industry as a sector, I believe, that doesn't get fair recognition to being stakeholder centric. They don't lay off people that easily as well, because also the government plays an important role. I think Asia as a whole does a better job at being stakeholder centric as compared to, let's say, American corporation. It's so ironic. Sorry, I talk too much, Jeff, but 180 of the world's biggest companies, the CEOs, they signed an agreement in 2018 called Business Roundtable Agreement. And in that agreement, they all committed to building stakeholder-centric firms. This includes the world's biggest companies. I don't know how they signed the document and how they do what they do today. I find it very difficult to digest. Yeah.
Interesting, because perhaps a lot of businesses are family-owned businesses in Asia, and by what you're saying there, potentially those family-owned businesses actually are more able to enact these stakeholder style principles within their organizations.
Yeah, you're right. That is one. And also, we are not, the American capital markets are brutal. The CEO is compensated on the performance of the stock, nothing else. Ultimately, the board evaluates him on the performance of the stock.
Yeah.
Right. So when he is measured on that, he is not measured on stakeholder centricity. He's measured on shareholder returns and stock performance. So unfortunately, that's what happens. So I think that has to change. And for that to change, maybe we need to create a different index to measure companies on their purpose scores, which is what we do. So we start measuring companies on how well they're doing across all 5 parameters, aggregate it and give them a score. And we work towards it. It's a journey. We have just started. Yeah. It will take us a decade or so to get there, but yeah, we have got we at least have started on that journey, and I'm very proud and excited about the team working on it.
Manoj, you mentioned telcos earlier on, and you've actually produced a report. The latest iteration came out for, I believe, Q3 for 2023, highlighting various metrics within the telco sector, particularly in ASEAN or Asia. Could you give us some of the highlights from that report, please?
Sure, thank you. So the telecom industry, telcos actually, think about it. It is the heart of how you get up early morning. The first thing you do is open your phone, and you want to check. So the telcos power everything we do. The internet, our access to the world. Now, the last 3-4 years they have done reasonably well, because during the pandemic, our consumption of data increased substantially. We started consuming a lot more video. So the telecom industry, which was beginning to see some slowdown, has seen some good growth. In fact, last 3-4 years, the growth averaged 6 to 7% in Asia, not globally, in Asia Pacific, which is nice, right? But coming to 2023, now the growth rates are beginning to slow down. We saw some growth in 2022, 2023, because we were beginning to travel more. Some roaming revenues were beginning to come in. Right? Telcos have also started doing a few other things, which we'll talk. So, but the highlight is that last year the growth has slowed down a bit as compared to the previous year. So telcos really need to start, being more aggressive about the change that they have been talking about. So I think we are working on it, and several telcos are trying to expand beyond connectivity. That is where the growth. So I will sell you the connectivity. You have the internet connectivity. You are based in Jakarta. You have one of the lowest phone costs in the world. The average customer pays not more than $3 per month for a good connection. If you were to be in UK or the US, you would pay significantly more, right? And but the value is going to be created on how we sell other things on top of it. Mm-hmm. Can we sell financial services? Can we sell entertainment? Can we sell gaming? Can we sell enterprise services? That's what the telcos are looking at driving. So that's the highlight, that the growth rate is reducing. Telcos are getting better. They're reducing their costs significantly through automation. Yeah.
So when we looked at the report, what stood out for me was that they had positive EBITDA growth over 2023, so quite strong EBITDA growth. And as you said, perhaps some of that price inelasticity from COVID and post-COVID is starting to ebb now. So the ability of companies to raise their prices and consumers just pay it is perhaps starting to ease, in particularly as we look towards 2024. Which regions in your report stood out for you as showing the best growth, and why did they succeed?
Yeah, so markets like India, where the competition has rationalized in some way. In many markets, competition was so intense, the companies would compete with each other just on price. So in Indian market, they actually adjusted the tariff up. And even in Australia, they've adjusted the tariff to do in line with inflation. So we have seen consolidation happen in Indonesia. We have seen consolidation happen in Thailand as well, and in Malaysia as well. So companies are beginning to get together and consolidate and improve and operate with scale, thus reducing their cost to serve and become more profitable, improving their EBITDA margin. I still think we can improve another 10 percentage points in EBITDA margin, but they will do that gradually over time. So that is not the challenge for the telco. The bigger challenge is that they need to invest a lot of money in CapEx, capital expenditure, to bring you that service. And for them, the big challenge has been that the return on capital employed is not good enough. The cost of capital is high, maybe 7%, 8%, or 9%, and the return on capital is maybe 10%. So it's hardly a margin of 2-3%, which is the biggest challenge for the telco, that they need to keep putting in so much of infrastructure to keep us. Our average consumption maybe is close to 16 to 18 GB per month now, right? Over the next few years, it's going to go to 30 GB. So, and then it will go to 100 GB because we'll consume more video content, more HD content. So I think that is the challenge. How do I optimize my networks to deliver great experience, yet keep lowering the cost? And that's what we're working on.
And I'm guessing that it's not just the telco industry that is going to find challenges with their internal rate of return calculations in a high interest rate environment.
Yeah, every industry, But fortunately, the banks have done well. The last year has been a great year for banks around Asia. They have seen good growth in India, in Singapore, in Indonesia. Many banks around the region have seen good growth because interest rates have been high, so they have enjoyed the benefit the most.
Banks love a positive yield curve.
Correct. And the banks also, we must give full credit to the banks. They are one of those industries which has responded to digital transformation the best, right? So, you don't go to the bank anymore. You carry it around everywhere. So they've done a very good job. For most activities, you can do it, and they're benefiting from it. In fact, so as I work with a large number of technology vendors in Asia, the likes of Google and AWS and others who sell equipment in Asia, the banks are the biggest customers now because one, they're growing. Second, if they were spending about 3 to 5% of revenue on technology, now they're spending 8 to 10% of revenue on technology. So the bank is a great sweet spot for companies to focus, to support them as they look at driving their growth in this coming couple of years.
Let's circle back to Malaysia and drill down on the telco industry there just for a moment. What can Malaysia do to boost its domestic telco industry?
So in Malaysia now, consolidation has happened. Celcom and Digi have consolidated, so competition has rationalized to some extent. There was a bit of uncertainty all of 2023 with regards to 5G. Malaysia embarked on a very, very unique approach throughout the world. Nobody else has done it. They said, we will not have multiple 5G networks because 5G is expensive to deploy. And we have not seen incredible success with 5G around the world. So they did a very smart move by putting a single wholesale 5G network. But then they had second thoughts about it mid last year. And they said, okay, let's go back to a dual wholesale network. So that uncertainty caused the telcos we lost some focus. The narrative and the concerns of the investors and the CEOs were all on dealing with this uncertainty. It seems like the dust has settled. Now there is clarity that we will go ahead with the dual wholesale network. I personally don't think it is a great idea, but nevertheless, the good news is a decision is made, right? So we can now focus on the customer, we can focus on the market. So I see that this year will be a better year. We will see a lot more emphasis and focus on actually supporting the customer need, customer demand, right? So Malaysia has, for example, one big area of growth for the industry has been that Malaysia has become a hub for data centers now. So we see that, because Singapore doesn't have any space for data centers, and Malaysian government has been quite proactive. They were open. They responded well, and they managed to attract the global companies to set up data centers. They've given a red carpet welcome. Malaysia has got good supply of energy and power. So that's one good pocket that has emerged. At the same time, the government is also now, we see some stability. The government spending on technology will also, I believe, will be positive this year. So from a telco standpoint, I see that the opportunity for them is really to support the enterprise business. That's where they will see the growth. They need to be able to package solutions along with the world's biggest technology companies and make and deploy solutions, be it 5G solutions or be it other security solutions, etc., to be able to drive growth. So that's what I will see this year happening more, that all these companies will build up their capability and focus more on their enterprise business. At least the top 3 companies will do that this year.
Wonderful. So we've talked about Malaysia. Let's now look at Asia or ASEAN as a whole, and perhaps give us your thoughts on the 2024 outlook and the pockets of growth that you're seeing on a national and perhaps sectorial level.
Yeah, great. So, when I looked at the World Economic Forum report a couple of weeks ago, right? And they looked at the global economic growth. There were 2 pockets of growth, the fastest growing regions, Southeast Asia and South Asia, India. These were the 2 markets that showed the biggest promise around the world. So we are lucky, we are lucky that we are in that part of the world, that the economic growth will be interesting and good. So I'm particularly excited about, so clearly Indonesia is going to be a good growth engine. India is a great growth engine. So very excited about these 2 as some of the biggest growth pockets from a country standpoint. Yeah, ASEAN overall we will see good growth, and Indian subcontinent I think we will see some good growth. So that is good for us. From a sectorial standpoint, I do think we will continue to see good, strong growth coming from banks. They have done well. They have transformed their business. They are now getting into newer adjacencies. They're digitizing their business. So I think they will do well. The digital natives are still struggling. They're still trying to turn to profit. So maybe not much of a growth opportunity there in terms of investment in technology. Yeah. So I think those are the key pockets of opportunity that we see in this year.
Wonderful. Manoj, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. It was fun. Appreciate the opportunity. And let's make 2024 a rockstar year for everybody. Let's build some excitement and energy into helping businesses grow and serve communities better.
Wonderful. We've been speaking to Manoj Menon, the founder and MD of Twimbit. I am Jeffrey Halley, and you've been watching and listening to Biztech Asia's C-Suite Conversation Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. It will also be shown on our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks for tuning in.